And, in fact, that is part of why fans are losing it over this whole thing. The Hall of Famer finally addressed the GOAT conversation in a CBS interview this year and basically rejected the premise altogether, saying there is no such thing as a GOAT in basketball because players learn from each other and move the game forward. That one answer was enough to reopen the old Jordan versus LeBron war, and it landed right as LeBron James was once again being asked to compare himself to Jordan in a new ESPN interview. And that LeBron interview mattered because he did not try to claim the crown outright either. He called the GOAT debate tiring, described it as barbershop talk, and said he has deep respect for Jordan, while also pointing out that their styles are different. LeBron framed himself as a pass-first player, and Jordan as a scoring-first killer, which is exactly the kind of answer that keeps the debate alive instead of ending it. The moment LeBron spoke up, Jordan's silence turned into part of the story again, because fans immediately started asking whether MJ's refusal to play the public game says something bigger than the interview itself. That is what makes Jordan's reaction so fascinating. He did not jump into the drama every time LeBron has been criticized, and he rarely feeds the internet the kind of quote it wants. Instead, the one clear public answer that surfaced recently was Jordan shutting down the GOAT label entirely. That is a very Jordan way to handle it. He does not need to stand on a soapbox and declare himself the best. He can simply dismiss the frame and make everybody else keep arguing. That quiet approach has only made the debate louder, because when one side refuses to play, the other side fills the silence with theories, assumptions, and fan wars.
I think there are some things that I do better than him. That's just how the game goes. There's a lot of things that I can say in particular. You already know how this conversation is going to be misinterpreted by people, man. And then McManaman asks, has it been a burden as an adult, that ambition? Because now everybody brings it up. You can't escape the comparison, to which LeBron responded by saying, quote, no, I think it's a very tiring conversation. It's barbershop talk. You can look at both of us and say that you love both of us without trying to shh on the other person. And usually it's the shh on me. But I know for sure that I've done my part in this journey, and more than anything, I hope, and I don't know, but I hope I made him proud at least wearing that number 23, end quote.
What really sent people over the edge, though, was the reporting that Michael Jordan may have privately defended LeBron years ago when the media was turning harshly on the young star. Wilbon said on television that Michael Jordan once called him and told him, in effect, to take it easy on LeBron, because Jordan understood what it was like to be under that kind of scrutiny. Wilbon's recollection painted a very different picture from the cold, distant public image people often attach to Jordan. It suggested that behind the scenes, MJ knew exactly what the media machine could do to a young superstar and wanted some of the pressure eased. That detail matters because it changes the whole mood of the conversation. A lot of fans assumed Jordan either ignored LeBron's controversies or silently disapproved from a distance. But the Wilbon story suggests something more complicated and a lot more human. It says Jordan may have recognized the weight LeBron was carrying early in his career and decided not to pile on publicly. That is not the same thing as loudly defending him in a viral segment, but it is still a meaningful gesture. It also helps explain why so many fans are now rethinking Jordan's silence. Sometimes silence is not absence. Sometimes it's a restraint.
I came across and I think that it's relatively disappointing. And I want Mike Wilbon and Doggy, two historians, people that I look up to. So I want to say this directly in front of them, and I'm open to the discussion. Everything that LeBron James said was right on point. When he dissected the difference between his game, Michael Jordan, how he looked at things, how he approaches the game, he looked to pass first, Michael Jordan looked to shoot first, etc., etc. All of those things are accurate. I didn't have a single syllable that he uttered until the last line, when he talked about you can look at two guys without, for the purpose of shitting on somebody. But obviously it's usually somebody doing that to me. That is where the problem lies.
That is the part fans keep arguing about. Jordan has spent years being treated like the final boss in every LeBron debate, but his recent comments make it clear he is not interested in turning basketball history into a single neat ranking. He told CBS there is no GOAT in his view, and that line cuts against the entire modern sports media machine that loves to reduce greatness to one winner and one loser. It also explains why the debate never dies. Jordan refuses to sit still inside the comparison, and LeBron refuses to make the comparison easy by claiming superiority outright. So, the fans are left with the arguments, the clips, and the endless replay of who said what and when. The irony is that LeBron himself seems tired of the whole thing. In the recent ESPN conversation, he made it clear that he grew up idolizing Jordan and does not view the debate as some holy war that needs a final winner. He said he has no desire to diminish Jordan, and he pointed out that both men did things the other did not. That's a mature answer, but it doesn't stop the internet from turning every quote into a scoreboard. The second LeBron says something nuanced, half the world hears humility, and the other half hears a tactical retreat. That is the problem with GOAT debates. They're never really about just one statement. They're about the emotional history attached to it. And with Jordan, that emotional history is huge. He's still the standard for so many fans because his resume is so clean and so easy to use in debates. The perfect 6-0 finals record, the iconic scoring titles, the defensive dominance, the playoff mythology, the aura of inevitability. LeBron's case is different. It's built on longevity, versatility, and the fact that he's stretched his elite level across more eras than most stars even survive in the league. That difference in style and narrative is exactly why the GOAT debate never gets settled. Each player represents a different version of greatness, and fans tend to choose the version that fits their own idea of what basketball should reward. Jordan's silence on LeBron controversies feels so powerful because of how little he publicly explains himself. He's not a former player who rushes into every debate to settle scores. When he does speak, it usually carries weight precisely because he speaks so rarely. That is why one private Wilbon anecdote plus one CBS answer about there being no GOAT can create such a huge reaction. Fans are starving for a direct Jordan versus LeBron comment, and instead they get this sort of half-shadow, half-answer approach that leaves room for interpretation. In sports media, that's basically gasoline. There's also a bigger cultural reason this keeps blowing up. Jordan belongs to a generation that mostly treated greatness as something you earned and protected, not something you debated endlessly on social media. LeBron belongs to a generation where every ranking gets relitigated in real time. So when Jordan refuses to fully participate, fans treat it like a statement. Some say he's above the noise. Others say he's too proud to engage. Others think the silence is his way of preserving the mystique that made him a legend in the first place. The truth is probably simpler. He doesn't need the argument to validate him.
Because what we don't talk about enough, Wilbon and Doggy, is as great as LeBron James is and how much he deserves to be celebrated, we don't talk about what he has done to hurt, not the game, but narratives associated with the game because of how he responds to it. I looked it up, Wilbon and Doggy. Do y'all know that there have been over 5,400 players in NBA history that have played in the NBA?
That does not mean Jordan has never had anything to do with LeBron's public story. The Wilbon recollection suggests he once quietly tried to protect a young LeBron from the kind of harsh media pile-on that Jordan himself had lived through. That is a big deal, because it shows Jordan understood the cruelty of the comparison machine long before the modern internet turned it into an industry. If true, it means his relationship to LeBron's legacy has never been just rivalry. It has also been empathy, even if it was private and never packaged for public consumption. At the same time, fans who love LeBron see the silence differently. They look at Jordan refusing the GOAT label and hear a legend dodging the final verdict. They hear a man who knows the comparisons are messy and would rather step outside the frame than say LeBron could pass him. That is why the reaction becomes so heated. One group thinks Jordan is showing humility, another thinks he is protecting his throne. And because LeBron keeps playing and keeps adding to his resume, the whole conversation never gets a clean ending. Every season adds another chapter, and every chapter gets dragged back into the Jordan debate. What also keeps this alive is that LeBron has not exactly made things easier for anyone trying to close the book. At 41 and still in his 23rd NBA season, he is still being compared to Jordan on a near daily basis, and he keeps putting up enough production to keep the conversation alive. The recent ESPN interview made clear that he understands the debate, but does not worship it. That creates a weird dynamic where LeBron's own maturity almost strengthens the public appetite for Jordan's silence. The more LeBron sounds tired of the comparison, the more fans want to know what Jordan really thinks. So, when fans say Jordan's silent reaction has them losing it, they are really reacting to the mystery. He said enough to deny the GOAT label, but not enough to hand LeBron a clean answer. He may have privately defended LeBron from media criticism years ago, but he has not turned that into a public embrace. That combination of rare public comments and reported private support creates the perfect storm for debate. People do not know whether to read him as an ally, a rival, or a legend who simply refuses to join the internet's favorite sport of taking sides. And that is why this story keeps landing. Jordan's silence isn't empty, it's loaded. It forces fans to argue about respect, legacy, pride, and the meaning of greatness all over again. It keeps LeBron in the spotlight without Jordan ever having to raise his voice. It lets both men stay true to who they are, while the basketball world does what it always does: compare, rank, and argue. In that sense, Jordan may have done the smartest thing possible. He said just enough to keep the GOAT debate alive, then stepped back and let everybody else burn through the rest of the oxygen.
That is how he has acted with so many people along the way. But he doesn't do it directly, as you know, Wilbon, and as you should know, Doggy. Oh, no. Other people do it for him. I remember years ago when I'm sitting there joking around with Rich Paul, and I'm like, y'all act like that's an insult. Seriously, with a serious face, Rich Paul looks me in the face. It is an insult. What? That is the problem.
Out of all of this, the biggest takeaway is simple. Jordan did not need a long speech to make fans react. One dismissive answer